This is Rabbi Ed Feinstein, and this is Valley Beth Shalom live and online. It's Tuesday afternoon, which means it's story time. I hope that you're having a really good day today. I hope that you have your family with you, and I hope that they got outside a little bit because it was a beautiful day today. It got a little cold in the afternoon, a little warm. It's been an interesting day, but it's time for stories. So let's gather around the computer. We'll tell a little story, and we can share a little bit of truth together because stories are the best way to learn good stuff. Well, there's a very famous Jewish book called Pirkei Avot. Pirkei Avot is a book in the Talmud. It's a book, an ancient book. It was written 2,000 years ago by the great rabbis. And they put in this book, Pirkei Avot, all of the wonderful wisdom that they discovered about life. You know, and they one of the wonderful wisdoms that they discovered about life had to do with what makes somebody wise. What does it mean to be a wise person? So in the fourth chapter of Pirkei Avot, a wonderful rabbi named Shimon Bar Zoma asks the question, Ezehu Chacham, who is wise? Now, usually we think about wise as a person who knows a lot, a person who has good grades on tests, and knows all the facts, and can win lots of questions on Jeopardy. But wise means something different than that. Wise is a way of being in the world. And the rabbis of the Talmud answer the question in a beautiful way. They say, Zehu Chacham, who is the one who is wise? Halomed mikol echad, the one who learns something from everybody he or she meets. Now imagine that. Imagine being the kind of person who could listen carefully to something that everybody says to you. Everybody who comes to you has come to teach you something, and you're able to quiet your inside noise and listen to that person and understand what that person has been sent to teach you. That would make you a wise person, says Pirkei Avot. Well, there's a really nice story about this, about what it takes to be a wise person in the spirit of Pirkei Avot. Here's the story. Once upon a time, there was a wonderful kingdom ruled by a wise king. The king was wise and he was caring, and he listened to everyone who came to him. He wasn't always able to solve people's problems, but he always listened. And people knew that if you came to the king, he would listen carefully. Sometimes he could fix your problem, and sometimes he would tell you how to fix the problem, and sometimes he couldn't fix it, but he certainly would listen carefully. And because people appreciate being listened to, it was a wonderful place. People love the king, and they love living in that place. Well, it was time for the king to appoint a successor. That means the next person who's going to be king after he's king, because he was getting old, and sometimes old people die. And what happened is that the king didn't have a son, he didn't have a daughter, he didn't have anybody that he said was his successor. So he told everyone in the kingdom, he told everyone in his court, everyone who worked with him, that he would write a letter. And in the letter, he would put his instructions for who would be king after him. And that they had to get together when it was his time to die. And they would get together and they would open the letter, and the letter would tell them who would be king next. Well, sure enough, that's what happened. The king died, and the whole court, all of the ambassadors and all of the ministers of state and all of the guys in charge, they came together. And it was the time to open the king's letter and see who would be king next. Who should be king next? Who do you suppose should be king next? And they all talked among themselves. One man was a very wise and old man who was the Secretary of State, and he said, perhaps I should be king because I know how to negotiate. I know how to talk to other countries. And one of the generals in his beautiful uniform said, I should be king because I know how to defend the kingdom and protect it from all of its enemies. And another person said, I know how to be king because I'm the head of all the scientists, and I know all of the scientific truths, and I could be a very good king. And all of the people of the court got together, and they all said, I think it's going to be me. I think it's going to be me. I think I'm going to be the one who's going to be the next king. Well, guess what happened? They all got together, And the Secretary of State, who was in charge, he took the king's letter in front of everyone and he opened it up and he pulled it out and he read it. And his eyes got so big and people said, "What does it say? What did the king say? Who should be the king next?" And the Secretary of State, he read out, he said, "My dear friends, the king has appointed the jester, the court jester." Well, court jester is a guy that was part of the court, and it was his job to make everybody laugh. He was kind of a silly guy. He actually wore silly costumes, and he juggled things, and he told funny jokes, and he was always there to make everybody laugh, and he was not serious, and he was not a general, and he was not a minister of state, and he was not a secretary of this or an undersecretary of that. He was not in charge of anything. Most people thought he wasn't very smart at all. How could the jester be king? And they started to protest. He can't be king. He can't be the king. How can a jester be the king? He can't be the king. But the Secretary of State said, "We promised the king we would obey his will." And that's what he wrote. The jester will be king. So they brought the jester forward, and he took off the funny costume that he was wearing, and they put him into the beautiful robes of the king, and they put the crown on his head and gave him the scepter of power, and he sat on the throne, and everyone bowed down and said, "Your Majesty, the king is dead. Long live the king." The jester was king. It was very strange. It was hard for people to respect him because they remembered when he was the jester and would dance around the room telling jokes and doing silly things and magic tricks and juggling balls and other things in the air. And it was hard for the jester. He wasn't used to being king. No one taught him how to be a king. But he had spent many years with the old king and had watched him very carefully. And so he started to do what the old king did. People came with problems, and the new king, the jester king, he listened carefully. And sometimes he would give answers to problems, answers to questions, and they were often pretty good. And sometimes he made important decisions because he listened carefully to the scientists and to the professors and to the ministers of state and to the advisors and to the ambassadors and to the diplomats and to the generals and to the admirals. They all gave him advice, and he listened carefully to all of their advice. And pretty soon, people started to say, that jester king, he knows what he's doing. He's a pretty good king. And pretty soon he became an excellent king, a great king, because he always had time to listen. He always had time to help people. He always cared about what his advisors and his generals and his admirals and his scientists and his professors and all the experts who came to talk to him. He listened to them so carefully, and he made wise decisions. And he became an excellent king. And people respected him. They really respected him. There was one ambassador who came from a faraway country. He spent a great deal of time with this new king, and he loved the king more than anyone. He watched the way this king listened to people, and he watched the way this king thought deeply about problems, and he watched the way the king got advisors to come and help him, and he had so respected the king. But there was one mysterious thing. Every day about 3 o'clock, the king would say, "We're going to take a break now." And he would come off the throne and walk back into the palace and disappear into a room. There was a room there. It was the king's special room. He was the only one who had the key. And the king went into that room and he locked the door, and nobody knew what he did in that room. Nobody knew what he did. But this ambassador who loved the king so much, it was such a mystery to him. It bothered him. Where does he go? What does he do there? What is his secret? So one day the ambassador followed him. So he didn't know he was there, but he followed him quietly until he got to that special room. And the king went into his special room, and the ambassador went up to the door. And there was no way to see except there was a keyhole, where the key goes. And the ambassador looked into the keyhole, and he saw the strangest thing. In that special room, there was a chair. And on the chair were the clothes of a jester, a court jester, a court fool. And the king would take off the robes of the king, take off the crown and take off the scepter, and he would put on the court jester's outfit. And he would dance around the room, making funny noises and juggling things and telling silly jokes and singing silly songs until he wore himself out and he was tired. And then he would sit down in the chair. And in front of the chair was a great big mirror. And the king, the jester king, would look into the mirror, point his finger and say, "Remember, you are not a king. You are a jester, pretending to be a king. Remember, you're just a jester, trying hard to act like a king. Don't forget." And now the ambassador knew the king's secret. And he loved his king even more than before, because he knew the secret of the king. And years went by, and this ambassador worked with the king, and they became very close, very, very close friends. And when they were both sort of old men, the ambassador sat one night with his king and confessed his love and said, "I so respect you and love you. I love your wisdom, and I love your kindness, and I love the way that you listen to people. And I love the way that you make decisions by carefully thinking through everything that people tell you. I love that. And I have to tell you that once, years ago, I did something I shouldn't have done. Every afternoon you retreat to your special room, I followed you. I followed you to listen to you, to see what you did. I couldn't bear not to know. I wanted to know. And I saw what you do. But I want you to know I will never tell anyone your secret. But now I know the secret of your wisdom." And the jester said, "Yes. Now you know the secret of my wisdom. The secret of wisdom is humility. To be small, not big inside. And because I'm small and not big inside, I've learned to listen like the old king listened. And because I'm small, not big inside, I care for everyone who comes in front of me. There's nobody who's not important to me, because I'm not all that important. They are important. Because I'm small, not big inside, I can hear their advice. I can listen to their problems. I can open myself to their needs." That's what it takes to be a wise person, to learn from everyone who has something to teach you. And the ambassador said, "I love you for that. But there's another question I have." And the king said, "Well, what's your question? We're friends. I'll answer any question." "Of course you will," said the ambassador. "You always have. So tell me something. Of all the people in the court that the old king could have made king, why did he choose you? Why did he choose the jester?" And the jester king smiled at his friend and said, "Well, who do you think he was before he was king?" Ezehu Chacham, asked Ben Zoma. Who is the wise one? Halomed mikol echad. The wise one is not the one who has all the answers. No, no, no. The wise one is not the one who thinks that he knows everything. No, no, no. The wise one is not the one who everyone comes to for an answer. No, no, no. The wise one has humility. He's small inside. She's small inside. And so she listens. He listens. He understands that everyone who comes in front of us has been sent to teach us something. That's how you become wise. I hope you have a really good afternoon. Thank you all for joining me today. Take good care. Stay well. Be safe. Today's Tuesday. Of course, morning prayers and evening prayers every single day. Morning at 7:30, evening at 6 o'clock. Tomorrow, Wednesday night, in the Rabbi's study, we're going to have a conversation with 3 of the people who are helping the homeless here in Los Angeles. Rabbi Noah Farkas, who's the chairman of the County Commission on Homeless Services. Molly Reisman, who's one of the deputies, her homelessness here in LA, and Stephanie Klasky-Gamer, who is the head of LA Family Housing. These are 3 heroes who are working so hard to find a place for all of those who have no safe place in our city. So please join me tomorrow night at 7 o'clock for that conversation. On Shabbos, on Shabbos morning, Torah study, of course, at Torah study at 9 o'clock. Davening at 10. At 11 o'clock, we're going to be having a special celebration of the veterans in our community. We do this in Shul every Memorial Day, and because we can't be in Shul, we'll do it here on Zoom, online on Facebook. A special gathering of veterans from all around our community, put together by our dear friend Harvey Keenan, and some prayers in honor of those who have stood and defended our country, and especially of those who have fallen in defense of America. So please join us on Shabbos, 11 o'clock, to honor our vets. Take good care, be safe, wear a mask outside, be good to your mom and dad. Have a great day.